There is a kind of confidence that doesn't come from talent. It doesn't come from being right. It comes from ice, from silence, from the unshakable certainty that you owe no one an explanation. Machiavelli warned, "The man who explains himself has already surrendered the throne." And you, how many times have you lowered your head to justify, to apologize, to prove the obvious? Every time you did, you shrank. You gave away your crown. The world doesn't follow the most skilled. It doesn't follow the most noble. It follows the one who speaks with finality, who enters a room and bends the atmosphere without effort. It follows the man who never asks permission to exist. Look at your life. How many chances have died because you hesitated? How many victories slipped away because you waited for approval? That hesitation, that need to be understood, is the poison of servants. And here lies the truth most men never face. Confidence is not about skill. Confidence is certainty. Certainty that cuts deeper than words. Certainty that weighs heavier than arguments. Certainty that turns silence into dominance. So I ask you, do you still react like a boy trained to please? Or are you ready to become the man whose calm presence disturbs, whose silence commands, whose certainty terrifies even the strong? Because from this moment forward, the only approval that matters is your own. And the loudest weapon you carry is silence. Most men believe confidence is born from mastery. They think it comes from skill, from experience, from being prepared. They are wrong. Confidence is not about being right. It is about being certain. The masses wait until they feel ready. They rehearse, they overthink, they beg for permission to move. But in the silence of their hesitation, another man, less skilled, less trained, steps forward without doubt. And the world follows him. Machiavelli understood this brutal law. Perception outweighs truth. The man who hesitates, even with the best answer, looks weak. The man who speaks with finality, even in uncertainty, looks strong. Confidence is not evidence. It is declaration. A verdict spoken before the trial. Think about the leaders you've seen. Were they always the smartest? Were they always right? No. They simply spoke as if their words were non-negotiable. They acted as if hesitation did not exist in their vocabulary. And the crowd, hungry for direction, surrendered. Here is the harsh reality. The world doesn't care about truth. It cares about signals. And the signal of confidence, certainty without apology, overrides facts every single time. So understand this. If you still believe that you need more skill, more approval, more validation before you move, you will remain invisible. Because confidence is not granted by the world. It is seized, claimed, declared. The illusion of confidence is simple. It is not a reflection of your ability. It is the shadow of your certainty. From birth you were trained into weakness, not by accident but by design. Parents, teachers, bosses, society, they all conditioned you to obey, to seek permission, to apologize before you even speak. They forged inside you what I call the inner servant. You know his voice well. It's the one that whispers, "Don't be too loud. Don't take up too much space. Be humble. Be agreeable." That voice is not humility. It is slavery. The inner servant bows before every pair of eyes in the room. He explains himself to strangers. He apologizes for existing. He seeks approval as if oxygen depended on it. And every time you obey that voice, your power bleeds. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote, "Men are quick to forget the man who serves, but never the man who commands. The servant begs to be understood. The master demands to be obeyed. Look at the men you admire, the ones who seem untouchable. Do they explain themselves? Do they seek validation? No. They move as if their existence is proof enough. To rise, you must kill the servant within, because as long as he lives, you will remain chained to approval, chained to weakness, chained to the opinions of men who are not even worth your time. Ask yourself, how many times today did you hesitate because of that servant? How many times did you shrink when you should have expanded? How many times did you bow when you should have stood tall? Until you silence that voice, you will never be feared. And a man who is not feared is a man who can be controlled. The first step to dangerous confidence is simple. Murder the inner servant. Every instinct you were trained to follow leads you to weakness, and that is why you must invert them. When the servant inside you whispers shrink, you expand. When your chest tightens and you feel the urge to explain, you pause. When guilt pushes you to apologize, you stare, calm, unblinking, unbroken. This is the game of inversion, and it is the core of Machiavellian confidence. Think about it. Most men rush to fill silence. They ramble, they justify, they soften their words to avoid tension. But when you refuse to play that game, when you hold stillness instead of excuses, the entire frame flips. Suddenly, it is not you who feels small, it is them. Confidence is forged not in comfort, but in inversion. Do the opposite of what the weak man does. The weak man explains. The dangerous man pauses, the weak man apologizes, the dangerous man observes. The weak man shrinks, the dangerous man expands. Every time you invert, you condition your nervous system to obey you. Not fear, not approval, not guilt. Machiavelli would say, the man who resists his own weakness is already master of others, because the crowd is predictable. They flinch, they react, they defend. But you, if you invert, you break the script. You become unreadable, and unreadable men terrify. Remember this law. Inversion is not reaction. It is domination through contradiction. It is taking the blade that was meant to cut you and turning it back without moving an inch. The world expects you to fold, invert, and you will rise. Power is not always loud. In fact, the loud are rarely powerful. The strongest presence in any room is not the man who talks the most. It is the man who makes others feel his silence. Machiavelli understood this weapon better than any general. Aura. Not noise, not performance, a weight in the air that bends people without them knowing why. Think about the moments you've met someone who didn't rush to impress you. He didn't speak much, he didn't justify, but something about him made you second-guess yourself. That is invisible presence. Here's the truth. People don't remember your words, they remember how they felt in your presence. Most men dilute themselves with chatter. They overshare. They seek to connect by exposure, and in doing so, they become ordinary. But when you cultivate silence, calmness, and stillness, when you stop performing, you create an atmosphere that others cannot shake off. Machiavelli would call this the theater of power. You are not the clown begging for applause. You are the king who does not need to speak. Your silence makes others bend because they don't know where you stand, and mystery always weighs heavier than clarity. The dangerous man understands. Your presence must be felt before it is understood. Seen as aura before it is seen as words. From now on, stop trying to be remembered by what you say. Be remembered by what you withhold, by the calm that makes others nervous, by the stillness that feels like a storm waiting to break. That is invisible presence. And it is far deadlier than any argument. Weak men speak to be heard. Powerful men speak to end the conversation. Your words should not sound like suggestions. They must land like verdicts, final, irrefutable. Every filler you add, maybe, I think, bleeds authority. Every soft tone, every nervous laugh, every unnecessary explanation invites doubt, and doubt is poison. Machiavelli would remind you, the one who explains himself has already admitted weakness. So why do you still explain? Why do you decorate your sentences with apologies, soften them with excuses, dilute them with fear? From this point on, strip your language to the bone. Short, sharp, certain, not, I think we should. But I see, this is the way, and not, I'm sorry, but that won't happen. Not maybe we could, but do this. The dangerous man doesn't waste syllables. Every word is a blade, every sentence a command, and here's the paradox. When you speak less, every word carries more gravity. When you pause before speaking, silence does the work for you. When you eliminate softness, your tone becomes steel. The world does not respect endless talk. It respects the man whose words close doors, not open debates. From today, speak as if every phrase costs blood. Speak as if every syllable carries weight, because it does. Words are not for connection. They are for control. And yours must always sound like decisions, never requests. The strongest man is not the one who reacts fastest. He is the one who does not react at all. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. The man who controls his emotions controls the battlefield. Look around you. Most men are slaves to their feelings. Insult them and they flare up. Praise them and they melt. Reject them and they spiral. Every reaction is a leash. Pull it and they obey. But the dangerous man breaks this chain. He refuses to be baited by insults. He refuses to be softened by praise. He refuses to be wounded by rejection. He observes, calculates, and only moves when it serves his strategy. This is emotional control. Not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. Your anger, your excitement, your desire, these are not commands, they are weapons. And weapons must be used with precision, not impulse. The crowd burns energy in pointless reactions. You remain still, unbothered, untouched. That stillness unnerves them. It creates distance. It bends the atmosphere in your favor. Machiavelli would whisper in your ear, "A ruler must know when to appear cold, for warmth invites manipulation." The highest form of strength is not fighting harder. It is refusing to fight at all, until the moment guarantees victory. Control your emotions and you control the tempo. Control the tempo and you control the frame. Control the frame, and you already own the outcome. Most men treat rejection as a wound. They take it personally. They bleed over it. They beg for closure, for explanation, for another chance. That is weakness disguised as emotion. Machiavelli would laugh at such men, because rejection is not personal, it is informational. When someone rejects you, they reveal their calculation. They expose how they measure your value. They tell you exactly where not to invest your energy. Rejection is not an insult. It is a map, a compass pointing away from dead ground and toward fertile territory. But weak men misunderstand. They chase after those who turn away, as if approval from the uninterested will somehow crown them. This is the logic of slaves. The dangerous man never chases. He redirects. He sees rejection as clarity. Not "they denied me," but "they revealed themselves." Not "I was devalued," but "their eyes could not measure my worth." And here lies the paradox. When you stop begging to be chosen, the world starts fighting for your presence. Because indifference is magnetic, and the man who does not flinch at rejection becomes untouchable. Machiavelli's law is simple. Do not defend against rejection. Do not resent it. Use it. Use it to see who truly values your presence. Use it to cut away the weak connections. Use it to evolve into someone who never waits for approval to move forward. Rejection is not the end. It is direction. And when you master this lens, you stop bleeding from wounds and start carving paths with blades. Silence is not absence. Silence is pressure. Most men cannot endure it. They rush to fill the void with chatter, excuses, nervous laughter. But the Machiavellian man understands. Silence is the heaviest weapon in the room. When an insult is thrown at you, the crowd waits for your defense. If you argue, you look guilty. If you explain, you look weak. But if you say nothing, still, calm, unbothered, suddenly the accuser feels the weight of their own words crushing them. Machiavelli knew the one who speaks first often loses the frame. And silence flips the frame entirely. In silence, they wonder, why didn't he respond? Does he know something we don't? Is he above this? Did my attack make me look insecure instead? That uncertainty grows like a storm, and while they squirm under its weight, you rise without lifting a finger. Silence is also absence. Withdraw your presence from a room, from a relationship, from a circle that took you for granted. Watch what happens. Your absence speaks louder than your words ever could. Suddenly, they notice the gap. They feel the missing weight of your presence, and they regret underestimating it. The weak man fears silence, the dangerous man wields it, because silence is not emptiness. It is suffocation, and the one who can sit inside it without flinching controls everyone else. The most dangerous man is the one who cannot be reached, not physically, psychologically. Most men are open books. You insult them, they rage. You flatter them, they melt. You reject them, they collapse. Every emotion is a door left unlocked. Every reaction is an entry point for manipulation. Machiavelli knew this weakness well. He warned that the ruler who can be read can be controlled, and control is death. To rise, you must become unreachable, cold, calm, consistent, not swayed by praise, not shaken by insult, not desperate for belonging. When people cannot read you, they obsess over you. When they cannot trigger you, they fear you. And when they cannot manipulate you, they respect you, even against their will. The unreachable man is not distant. He is disciplined. He chooses what reaches him. He decides which emotion to show, which word to release, which movement to make. And here lies the paradox. The less available you are emotionally, the more valuable your presence becomes, because scarcity always multiplies worth. This does not mean apathy. It means precision. It means guarding your mind like a fortress, your emotions like weapons, your silence like a crown. Machiavelli would call this the highest form of defense, not resisting every attack, but becoming immune to all of them. To be unreachable is to be untouchable, and untouchable men rule even in silence. Before you speak a word, your body already declares who you are. Posture, pace, gaze, stillness. These are weapons sharper than any tongue. Most men betray themselves with their bodies. They fidget, they hunch, their eyes dart, searching for approval. Every twitch screams insecurity, and the room reads it instantly. But the dangerous man, he moves differently. He does not rush, he does not flinch. Every step is deliberate, as if time itself bends to his rhythm. His back is straight, not stiff but composed. His gaze, steady, controlled, unsettling in its calmness. Machiavelli knew the truth. Men judge more with their eyes than with their hands. They see your posture long before they weigh your words. They feel your presence before they measure your arguments. Confidence is not announced. It is displayed through silence of motion. The way you walk into a room, as if nothing there can disturb you. The way you hold your face, not begging with a smile, not snarling with aggression, but unreadable, sovereign. The way you pause before answering, making silence work harder than sound. This is body as weapon. Not in violence, but in dominance. Because power is first psychological, and psychology begins in presence. The weak man bends under pressure, the dangerous man stands still, and the world bends around him. Power is not always declared. Often it is felt, like a weight in the air no one can explain. This is aura, not charisma, not charm, but an atmosphere so sharp it bends people without force. Machiavelli understood it. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you truly are. Aura is that appearance, crafted, sharpened, controlled. It is not who you are inside. It is what they feel in your presence. Most men chase attention. They overexpose themselves. They broadcast their emotions, their insecurities, their need to be liked. And in doing so, they become common, predictable, forgettable. But aura is built on the opposite. Scarcity, mystery, restraint. You speak less, so every word feels heavy. You appear less, so your presence feels expensive. You reveal less, so your silence becomes a storm in their minds. The aura of domination makes people adjust themselves without you asking. They sit straighter. They hesitate before speaking. They measure their words, because your presence silently demands it. And here lies the secret. Aura is not performance, it is consistency. It is the discipline to remain still when others fidget, calm when others panic, silent when others ramble. It is the refusal to dilute your presence with constant exposure. Machiavelli would remind you, the ruler who can be imagined is stronger than the one who can be understood, because imagination always exaggerates, and people will always fear the shadows of their own thoughts more than the clarity of your truth. Aura is the invisible crown. You do not wear it, you radiate it, and those around you bow without realizing why. Power fades the moment it becomes common. The man who is always available becomes invisible. The man who is always seen becomes ordinary. Scarcity is not weakness, it is design. It is the deliberate choice to make your presence rare and therefore expensive. Machiavelli knew this law of human nature. Men value most what is hardest to obtain, and that truth has not changed. The more they see you, the less they respect you. The more access they have, the less they fear losing it. Weak men cling. They reply instantly. They show up everywhere. They overexpose their faces, their thoughts, their time, begging to be noticed, and in doing so they become cheap. But the dangerous man limits himself. He does not rush to answer. He does not appear in every room. He does not offer his attention like a beggar tossing coins. Every interaction with him feels earned. Every word feels rare. Every presence feels like privilege. Scarcity creates hunger. Absence creates obsession. And mystery multiplies value. This is why kings do not walk the streets daily, why rulers appear rarely but with impact, because their very absence makes their presence legendary. You must learn the same. Withdraw strategically, disappear without explanation, return with presence that shakes the room. Machiavelli would say, "The common man seeks to be remembered. The dangerous man seeks to be missed." Scarcity is not emptiness. It is leverage. And when your presence becomes rare, every eye follows when it appears. The greatest enemy of confidence is not fear. It is ego, fragile, hungry, desperate. The fragile ego lives on approval. It craves recognition. It seeks validation like a starving dog begging for scraps. And every time it gets ignored, it collapses. This is why most men never rise. They build their self-worth on the shifting sands of other people's opinions. A compliment inflates them. A rejection destroys them. They are ruled, not ruling. Machiavelli exposed this weakness long ago. He who depends on the goodwill of others will always be broken by it. The dangerous man cannot afford such fragility. His ego must die. Because only in its death can true confidence be born. You do not need to be liked. You do not need to be approved. You do not need to be understood. The fragile ego asks, "What do they think of me?" The dangerous man asks, "Why should I care?" The fragile ego apologizes for ambition. The dangerous man carries it like a crown. The fragile ego bends to rejection. The dangerous man sees rejection as redirection. When you kill the fragile ego, you are free. Free from the leash of approval. Free from the manipulation of praise. Free from the fear of being disliked. And here lies the paradox. The moment you stop chasing recognition, people begin to recognize you. The moment you stop begging for respect, people start fearing your presence. Because the man who needs nothing cannot be broken. The fragile ego dies, and in its place a fortress is built. Cold, calm, untouchable. You began as a servant, trained to seek approval, trained to apologize, trained to shrink so others could feel comfortable. But that man dies here. You have seen the illusions. That confidence is not about skill, but certainty. That rejection is not a wound, but information. That silence, scarcity, and presence weigh heavier than any explanation. That emotional control is the highest form of strength. Machiavelli would tell you, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But the ultimate state is not fear, not love. It is dominance through indifference. An aura so controlled, so calm, so rare that others bend without knowing why. This is the transformation, from boy to ruler, from servant to sovereign, from fragile to untouchable. You no longer chase approval, you no longer defend your worth. You no longer explain your existence, you define it, through silence, through presence, through certainty. The world will test you, they will insult, reject, and provoke. But you will not flinch, you will not react, you will not chase, you will stand still, and the room will bend. That is the Machiavellian way, not noise, not begging, not reaction, but control, presence, and silence that weighs heavier than 1,000 words. From this moment forward, you are not here to be understood. You are here to be obeyed, not here to be liked, here to be respected, not here to blend in, here to dominate. The servant is gone, the untouchable remains.